Kia ora, good morning. Welcome to Ryan Bridge today. It is Thursday, the 26th of February. Great to have your company. On the show this hour, Foreign Minister Winston is live after we hit 40 senior officials from Iran with travel bans. The Iranians are now accusing New Zealand of spreading false information. We're there in 5 minutes. The Reserve Bank wants banks to install potentially thousands more ATMs and physical branches around the country. Is cash still king? We'll speak to the Reserve Bank about the idea that's been labelled a bit crazy. And National and New Zealand First are openly at odds over fishing protections in the Hauraki Gulf and whether a treaty settlement could be breached. We'll talk to the former Treaty Negotiations Minister Chris Finlayson before 8, plus Trump and his State of the Union. That's all ahead. First, Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
A banking expert's calling the Reserve Bank's proposal to enforce the opening of more branches and ATMs a waste of money. Public consultations opened on the bank's wish to require accessible cash services countrywide free of charge through more branches and ATMs. However, Massey University banking professor Claire Matthews says branches and ATMs closed because they weren't being used. She says there are more useful things banks could be forced to spend their money on, such as giving people access to low-cost bank accounts. The dairy sector has delivered a record year. Data from Dairy NZ's annual State of the Dairy Nation report shows farmers produced an unprecedented 21 billion litres of milk in the 2024-25 season. It's also delivered the highest ever export earnings worth $27.1 billion. This was achieved despite the national herd falling 0.5%. The last piece of the puzzle for overnight air traffic control, with the government opening up a new 24/7 alternative runway for commercial airlines. Funding's been approved for the round-the-clock service at Hauraki Air Force Base near Palmerston North. Under aviation laws, commercial flights must nominate an alternative runway in case a plane can't land at its destination. Board of Airline Representatives Executive Director Kath O'Brien told Ryan Bridge, "This is important, as long-haul aircraft often start running low on fuel." She says it's key to have an airport where airlines can divert to if they need and then get on their way once they refuel. An e-scooter sharing firm is backing the government's moves to update road rules. Transport Minister Chris Bishop announced the proposals yesterday, including allowing under-13s to ride bikes on footpaths and for e-scooters to use cycle lanes. Despite it being common practice, it's currently unlawful for the scooters to use cycle lanes. Flamingo co-founder Jackson Love says clarity is needed. He says a proposal would clear up confusion and align with how riders are already using the cycle lane network. Wairoa Mayor Craig Little is welcoming further government intervention in his council. A Crown manager's been reappointed for another year to make sure the Wairoa District Council and Hawke's Bay Regional Council complete a $70 million flood protection project. A cabinet paper suggests the plan may otherwise be delayed and flooding could put residents' lives at risk. The report on Phase 2 of the Royal Commission of Inquiry into COVID-19 lessons is being handed to the Governor-General today. Public hearings were held mid-last year with testimonies from multiple communities about the lockdowns in 2021 and vaccine mandates.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
The Black Caps have dominated Sri Lanka to win their Super 8 cricket match by 61 runs at the Men's T20 World Cup in Colombo. The White Ferns have beaten Zimbabwe by 92 runs in their opening T20 at Hamilton. Representatives from World Cup hosting cities have expressed security concerns 3.5 months from the start of the men's football showpiece, given the current United States federal government shutdown. And the 105th New Zealand Golf Open has teed off at Millbrook.
Time now is 3 minutes after 7. Nice to have your company. Flick me an email this morning, Ryan at nzherald.co.nz. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a big puffy cloud of smoke hanging over this vaping versus cigarettes debate this week. It's all kicked off because the government is handing out free vapes to smokers to stop them getting what we know could basically be a death sentence. They've done a deal to buy a bunch of them for $500,000. Now, between January and July, 3,000 were given vaping kits. Nearly half of them stopped smoking. Now, ordinarily, you would think that's a good news story. Not so for Kelly Burrows, Auckland University vaping researcher. She said on News Talk ZB, basically, it wasn't.
I don't know if it's working, but I guess the main point I think is that vaping is not a registered medicine for smoking cessation. It's not been approved. It's not as stringently registered or regulated and tested as other smoking cessation products that are already available. So to me, it seems quite crazy that they are giving these free vapes out.
So, yesterday on the program, we spoke to Robert Beaglehole. Yes, the Robert Beaglehole, former boss of the World Health Organization, public health expert. He said this about these anti-vapors.
It's a mystery, but clearly some of the searches, the one you referred to in particular, is a laboratory-based scientist who has no epidemiological, no public health experience, doesn't have the big picture in mind. One of the other antagonists to this approach clearly doesn't comprehend the evidence. I mean, it's a mystery to why someone would oppose something that is much less harmful, helps people stop, and is cheaper.
So what are we supposed to think? Feels a little bit to me like the COVID days when you had experts piping up about the harms of the disease without taking a helicopter view of the best way that a society should manage the risk, the least overall harm. You know, which path should you choose? There's also a bit of a political element to all of this, not necessarily on the academic side, but there's a whole bunch of people that want to paint Casey Costello as some sort of big vape lobbyist and drag. The choice really, if you are making a decision, if you'd even call it a decision, seems to come down to the devil you know versus the devil you don't.
Herald Now weather.
Kia ora. A rainy front moves up the South Island today with a switch to cooler southwesterly winds behind it. Meanwhile, the high pressure slowly moves away from the North Island, but it's still looking like a warm day in Tairawhiti, Gisborne and Hawke's Bay. After a rainy morning, things clear up in the afternoon, although they could take longer to do so in central Otago and the Southern Lakes area. Well, the pictures say it all. Cloud, rain and cooler temperatures. But that rain may take longer to reach areas at the top of the island like Nelson and Marlborough. Showers become more frequent this evening, Horowhenua and southwards, including Wairarapa. Strong northerlies prevail until a southerly change overnight. Most coastal areas remain dry, though there may be the odd shower elsewhere. Hawke's Bay is one of our warmer parts of the country with temperatures in the high 20s. Today is a mix of drier areas like Auckland and areas more likely to see the odd shower like Northland and Waikato. Winds remain from the east but are pretty light all round. Meanwhile, temperatures remain steady in the mid-20s.
Right, time is 7 minutes after 7. We'll get to Winston Peters in just a few seconds. Trump's State of the Nation address yesterday mentions Iran, which we're talking about this morning, as the military build-up continues in the Middle East. He says he will not allow the world's biggest sponsor of terrorism to have a nuclear weapon.
We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon.
و در رابطه با گفتگوها هم چشمانداز خوبی رو می‌بینیم انشالله فردا در جلسه‌ای که باز آقای دکتر عراقچی در ژنو خواهد بود این روند رو تلاش کردیم با
Right, back home now where a war of words seems to be breaking out between New Zealand and Iran. This after travel bans were slapped on 40 senior Iranian officials after that violent crackdown on protesters. The Foreign Minister, Winston Peters, says thousands of people in Iran have been brutally killed and their right to protest has been ruthlessly violated. But last night, the Iranian embassy fires back. They're now accusing our government of misinformation. Winston Peters joins us live this morning. Minister, good morning.
Good morning.
How do we know, I mean, these 40, including cabinet ministers that you've mentioned, where do we get our intelligence about their involvement?
From a wide range of sources that have been totally reliable thus far.
They have said it's misinformation.
Well, that's the kind of thing some countries like Iran will say in attempting to have excused the totally inexcusable. tens and tens of thousands of people have been literally murdered and have been subject to an awful crackdown, which is going on as we speak. And they want us to turn a blind eye to it. Well, we cannot, we will not.
What else should we do about it, do you think?
Well, we're doing whatever we can from this part of the world. We're making sure that those who are most responsible are held to account. That's why we've increased our reactions against them, because, you know, we've always had the view that these sorts of issues should be settled properly inside the rules of law and in proper processes. But when you talk about Iran, the reaction we've got from them, you know, that we could have written it ourselves as a forecast of what they would typically say, and they just could have said that.
It'd be yes.
Well, I don't use that sort of word, and well, look, this is diplomacy, for goodness sake. Let's be serious. It's just not true. It's false. They have had so many proxies for terror around the world that they've supported, including the operations in Australia, that we have to take action as best we can with others.
Should these guys have a nuclear program?
No, most definitely not. Their sense of sort of ownership of the right to do what they like in circumstances which other countries understand, even, you know, countries who are nuclear weapon countries know that there's a certain measure of standards, a certain measure of rules, a certain propriety about, for example, the mutual ownership of and handling of this matter. Whereas in the case of Iran, I think the fear, and it's in the Middle East as well, they seriously think that if they were to get them, they would use them.
So we need to make sure they never get them. If it came to it then, and the only way to do that was Trump and the military action, then so be it.
Well, again, look, you're asking a small country way out in the West Pacific to step up and have a view on certain things, and we do have them. But that's as far as we can go as a country. We join other countries in the United Nations and elsewhere in other meetings to ensure that our voice is heard. But on this matter, if it should come to war, that'll be a disaster. But sadly, that's a highly potential now.
Highly potential. What's your message to any New Zealanders in Iran?
I'll get out. And, you know, this is the second time. We had a major effort from Foreign Affairs recently, or, you know, a few months ago, to get out as many as we possibly could. We put all the effort into it. We sent a plane right to the borders, only to find that when we got there, the piece had broken out, or the threat had broken, and so we just turned the plane around and came home. But New Zealand taxpayers and New Zealand government and New Zealand people have made enormous efforts to help our people over there, and they should do their best to find a more safe place to be in the meantime.
Have the Americans spoken to us? Have you had conversations with your colleagues about their military action, potential military action?
No, we have not had the kind of talk that you were hinting at, where we might know what's going to happen next. No, we have not.
Hey, on the free trade agreement with India, Minister, have you had any updates, any further updates from Todd McClay or others on that, any of the detail?
Oh, look, all I've said is when the detail is known, we can more make our own judgments. There's no use you and I having this debate, what's in it, what does it mean? When the document's out there, all I'm saying is that the view that was espoused by the Indian Prime Minister Modi, by their Trade Minister Goyal, and the view that's been espoused by me are one. And what we're hearing from others is something else. So let's find out the detail when the document is fully released.
I see that Chris Seeds presented his credentials to the President in the Oval Office, which is great news, good to see. When are we going to get an ambassador coming the other way?
Well, very good question. He's been chosen, but he's got to go through the process. He was chosen months ago, and that's how the drag can happen in American and congressional matters like this. I don't know when, but he has been named.
Oh, so it's not official for him yet?
No, he hasn't been approved inside the congressional process.
All right, well, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Hey, the other thing I wanted to raise with you, I saw come out yesterday, was the quarterly action. I see the Prime Minister's dropped his quarterly action plans, and I know you weren't a massive fan of them. Are you pleased to see the back end of them?
How do you know that?
You told me.
Oh, well, I saw that in the past government, these quarterly plans up on the dashboard and all this action, and I thought, no, there are fundamentals in this business where our job is to take those fundamentals that the people are most concerned about and fix them. The dashboard was never going to do that.
So good thing they're gone. Good riddance.
Yeah, thank heavens for that.
Hey, just finally on, I'm sure you would have caught some of Donald Trump's State of the Union address yesterday. He's got a difficult job politically to do because, he's got some polls that aren't looking that good, but he's got an economy that he's trying to sell and he's got midterms coming. What did you make of the address?
Well, it was long for a start. It was very, very colourful. Some of the engagements with, for example, the congresswoman from Minneapolis, or Minnesota rather, were really priceless because, it's just unbelievable what they've got away with in terms of her position. It's unbelievable, even from a New Zealand perspective, and we don't actually comment on other countries' politics. But in the end, America has had to have a massive rethink because for so long and for decades, they have been on a slide. That's a fact. And his job is enormously difficult. I don't take sides because, we have to govern with Democrats. We have to govern with the Republicans time after time. And in the end, though, it's all over to, and I hope my New Zealand voters know this, it's all over to the American people. It's their democracy, not ours.
Winston Peters, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for being with me as always.
Thank you.
It's the Foreign Minister. Time is 16 minutes after 7. If you have feedback for us this morning, then flick me an email, ryan@nzherald.co.nz. We love hearing from you. In 2021, Kiwi MMA fighter Hauraki was killed in an unprovoked coward punch attack in Auckland. The 25-year-old was the father of a young girl trained at City Kickboxing Gym. Now, City Kickboxing founder Eugene Berriman is calling for tough new sentences for these types of attacks, even though the government has already announced some. In fact, they are progressing through Parliament at Select Committee stage. Eugene is with me at the desk this morning. Good morning.
Hey Ryan, thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. So the changes the government announced back in June, they're going through Parliament at the moment. What about them is not tough enough?
I think the main thing, we're going somewhere with them. Firstly, to have coward punching starting to be recognised as a serious crime is a step forward. But the amendment bill doesn't come with any minimum sentencing, and I think that's where we need to go. So we are particularly advocating for a minimum if the crime's fatal, if it's caused to death, minimum of 8 years non-parole. And we think that firstly, the most important thing that does is that takes someone very dangerous off the street, but that also sends a very clear message that that's a very serious crime and, don't be a perpetrator of that crime.
Because it's 10 years minimum for murder, I think, from memory. You're wanting 8 years for a manslaughter where there's intent to basically go after someone with a cow punch.
Yeah, but more importantly, we want it to be its own specific crime and have nothing to do with manslaughter.
Yeah, right, okay.
It's currently, it's a manslaughter at the moment, it's charged under manslaughter at the moment, which does have a life imprisonment, but it's just very, very seldom that sentence is given, and it's given very, very lightly given that after you apply all the discounts and stuff and everything.
That's right. Discounts like a Briscoe sale, isn't it? It's like 80% off for this, 20% off for this. Can you tell us what the guy who punched how long before he was out?
He was out after he got his discounts, and he got a few replied. And I guess it escapes me, Ryan, I'm sorry, but it was very quick. It was in under 3 years.
Yeah.
Under 3 years, he was already out on the streets.
Less than a year.
Less than a year.
Less than a year, 11 months. So he got almost 3 years, but then,
after the discounts were applied.
That's right.
This is the thing that we're really advocating against. We were all naughty kids when we were young. You know what I mean? And we all went through hardship. But whether that should have any reflection later in life on what you've done, we also become adults and we also become responsible. And I think, to apply those discounts, because some of these young fellas have had a hard life, it doesn't truly reflect how they're acting later on as an adult.
Do you think that by giving them a punishment and actually sticking with it and not giving the discounts, that they might learn something? Like, do you think that there is a possibility they'll learn from that? Or is it more about justice for the victim and for their family to know that actually the person who did this isn't going to just walk away?
You would hope that a tougher sentence would teach them a lot more about the wrongful doings that they committed, but it's honestly more about the victim. There's not a family out there that feels justice when you've lost a son, they've lost a father, they've lost whoever, and within a year, 2 years, 3 years, that person's already free, enjoying the fruits of life when their loved one is no longer. That's a life sentence. And light prison sentences don't justify that life sentence that they have to go through.
Eugene, the government has said, and I've read from Paul Goldsmith this morning, we're unlikely to move on this, the minimum sentences, which is what you want, because then you're guaranteed that they're going to spend some time behind bars, is kind of off the table. What's your message to Paul Goldsmith? He'll be on our show tomorrow.
Yeah, my message to him is you need to look at the hundreds and possibly even thousands of people that the crime doesn't necessarily cause death to, but there's this massive flow-on effect of anxiety and trauma, injury. It's the deaths are the tip of the spear. But every weekend in this country, there's coward punches going on. And it's going to continue, and there's going to continue to be more deaths if he doesn't apply tougher laws and tougher legislation around this crime. That's my message to him.
Eugene, I really appreciate you coming on the show this morning, and nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Meet you. Thank you, Ryan.
Take care. That is Eugene Berriman, who's the founder of City Kickboxing. Time is 21 minutes after 7. Right, have you struggled to find cash and a cash machine recently? The Reserve Bank could be about to force banks to set up hundreds of them, if not thousands. We'll talk about that with the bank next.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Well, if we switch to 2 degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans, and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then. Mm-hmm.
We've done few subdivision with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff, always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
Acting Prime Minister, does he stand by all of it?
You don't shout out like some bunch of clowns at university.
My message to the union is very clear. Don't do
The New Zealand Herald, news worth knowing.
23 minutes after 7, a back to the future solution. That's how banks are describing the RBNZ's idea of bringing back the cash machine, bringing back local branches, introducing more ATMs, ideally within walking distance if you're in an urban area, which could result in thousands more cash machines in total. Now, the Banking Association says the proposal is extreme. Ian Woolford is the Reserve Bank's Director of Money and Cash and joins me now from Wellington. Ian, good morning.
Good morning.
So is it extreme? Is it back to the future?
Well, I'm not sure I necessarily agree with either of those labels, but I mean, I think the key thing here is that this is a consultation. You know, what we're wanting to hear from communities and from banks is, have we got the calibration right? I think the idea that people should have access to cash is something that shouldn't be too controversial. We've done a lot of work with communities, and that's what they tell us. We're quite interested in what communities think about the calibration. Is it extreme, or is it something that they actually need? Not surprised that banks are pushing back a little bit, because we're suggesting there'll be some costs for them.
Yeah, $100 million, which won't we end up paying that anyway?
Well, we've done some modelling work on that, and we think it is likely. So what we're proposing is that banks pay to put the depots back in, and that you shouldn't have to pay fees to get money out of ATMs. Our modelling work suggests that across the banking system, it would be minor, like 2 basis point, like 0.02% on interest rates, which is quite different from what people pay now for, well, some people pay now in terms of, fees to take money out of ATMs. But in the grand scheme of things, we think that the benefits far outweigh the costs. But like I say, this is a consultation, and
all right,
we need to hear from people.
I think, I did some a bit of this on the radio this morning, and the text machine lit up. People love cash; they want more of it. They don't think we have enough machines. Small business owners want this. Is this are you putting a line in the sand? And are you flying a kite really high in the hope that we might land somewhere in the middle here?
Well, we're more serious than just kite flying, but we are putting a line in the sand in the sense that we think the way the cash system has evolved through the private sector with the provision of ATMs by banks is not meeting the needs of the public. So the back to the future line that we hear from the NZBA, I think sort of reflects a bit of an attitude which is a little bit inconsistent with what New Zealanders are telling us, that they do want cash to be available. So yeah, I think we are saying something needs to change, because the way things are going at the moment, it's not meeting the needs of New Zealanders and giving them the choice that they deserve in terms of how they spend their money.
Appreciate your time this morning, Ian. Thank you. Ian Woolford, who's the Reserve Bank Director of Money and Cash in Wellington, 27 after 7. If you missed Trump's State of the Union speech yesterday, the main takeaway is that it was a bit long, record-breaking 1 hour and 47 minutes. He spent that time talking up his achievements. He's geeing up the American economy in the hope that the voters will see it for what it is. A turnaround for the ages is how he described it. Also, Supreme Court justices who ruled against his tariffs, they were in the audience. He called their decision very unfortunate.
I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. Everything was working well. Countries that were ripping us off for decades are now paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. They were ripping us so badly, you all know that. Everybody knows it. Even the Democrats know it. They just don't want to say it. And yet these countries are now happy, and so are we. We made deals. The deals are all done. And they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money.
So speaking of the Dems leaving the speech, Chuck Schumer, who's a Democratic senator, had this to say.
Leader Schumer, what did you think of the speech, sir?
I thought it was a state of delusion.
Now, political analyst Aaron Hall says the speech was unusual compared to past presidents.
The tone was a little bit more partisan and kind of base leaning than I expected. Generally State of the Union addresses are supposed to be unifying and bipartisan and kind of, post-partisan, forward-looking. For the most part, it was kind of about himself and his future.
Right, let's return home now. Coalition partners National and New Zealand First are fighting over a full fishing ban for the Hauraki Gulf, with Ministers Shane Jones and Tama Pultaka going at it, basically. Chris Finlayson is a barrister, former MP, former Attorney General, joins us live this morning. Chris, good morning.
Good morning.
So let's start with Shane Jones. So Shane Jones says National's proposal to reinstate the full ban is nuts, and he says it would breach the 1992 Sea Lord Treaty settlement, says that could cost up to $250 million to the Māori fisheries settlement. Big claim. Is he right or is he wrong?
No, he's wrong. The fisheries settlement always contemplated that there would be times when areas would be closed. A good example would be what my former colleague Phil Heatley did in the Marlborough Sounds with blue cod some years ago. So always contemplated that kind of closure and biodiversity protection. So quota here is not cancelled. Basically, people are told that they can't go fishing in particular areas, but it doesn't amount to a repudiation of the settlement, in my view.
Right, so Māori get given or are awarded a quota as part of a settlement deal. If the closure of a particular area or a ban is put in place in a certain area because that, you want to replenish the stocks, like there's an environmental reason, then it's legit.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I recall a case I was involved in many years ago about, they call it SNA1, Snapper 1, fishing for snapper in the Hauraki Gulf. There were some concerns about overfishing, so parts of it was shut down for a period. When the settlement was signed in 1993, Maori entered into the business and activity of fishing, entered into the quota management system, and they have to take closures from time to time, just like everyone else.
Appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for clearing that up. Chris Finlayson, barrister, former MP. No need to dwell on these things. The answer was clear, concise. We'll go to Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
A banking expert's calling the Reserve Bank's proposal to enforce the opening of more branches and ATMs a waste of money. Public consultations opened on the bank's wish to require accessible cash services countrywide free of charge through more branches and ATMs. However, Massey University banking professor Claire Matthews says branches and ATMs closed because they weren't being used. She says there are more useful things banks could be forced to spend their money on, such as giving people access to low-cost bank accounts. The dairy sector has delivered a record year. Data from Dairy NZ's annual State of the Dairy Nation report shows farmers produced an unprecedented 21 billion litres of milk in the 2024-25 season. It's also delivered the highest ever export earnings worth $27.1 billion. This was achieved despite the national herd falling 0.5%. The last piece of the puzzle for overnight air traffic control, with the government opening up a new 24/7 alternative runway for commercial airlines. Funding's been approved for the round-the-clock service at Ohakea Air Force Base near Palmerston North. Under aviation laws, commercial flights must nominate an alternative runway in case a plane can't land at its destination. Board of Airline Representatives Executive Director Kath O'Brien told Ryan Bridge this is important as long-haul aircraft often start running low on fuel. She says it's key to have an airport where airlines can divert to if they need and then get on their way once they refuel. An e-scooter sharing firm is backing the government's moves to update road rules. Transport Minister Chris Bishop announced the proposals yesterday, including allowing under-13s to ride bikes on footpaths and for e-scooters to use cycle lanes. Despite it being common practice, it's currently unlawful for the scooters to use cycle lanes. Flamingo co-founder Jackson Love says clarity is needed. He says a proposal would clear up confusion and align with how riders are already using the cycle lane network. Wairoa Mayor Craig Little is welcoming further government intervention in his council. A Crown manager's been reappointed for another year to make sure the Wairoa District Council and Hawke's Bay Regional Council complete a $70 million flood protection project. A cabinet paper suggests the plan may otherwise be delayed and flooding could put residents' lives at risk. The report on Phase 2 of the Royal Commission of Inquiry into COVID-19 lessons is being handed to the Governor-General today. Public hearings were held mid-last year with testimonies from multiple communities about the lockdowns in 2021 and vaccine mandates.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
The Black Caps have dominated Sri Lanka to win their Super 8 cricket match by 61 runs at the Men's T20 World Cup in Colombo. The White Ferns have beaten Zimbabwe by 92 runs in their opening T20 at Hamilton. Representatives from World Cup hosting cities have expressed security concerns 3.5 months from the start of the men's football showpiece, given the current United States federal government shutdown. And the 105th New Zealand Golf Open has teed off at Millbrook.
Herald Now Weather.
Kia ora. A rainy front moves up the South Island today with a switch to cooler southwesterly winds behind it. Meanwhile, the high pressure slowly moves away from the North Island, but it's still looking like a warm day in Tairawhiti, Gisborne and Hawke's Bay. After a rainy morning, things clear up in the afternoon, although they could take longer to do so in central Otago and the Southern Lakes area. Well, the pictures say it all: cloud, rain and cooler temperatures. But that rain may take longer to reach areas at the top of the island like Nelson and Marlborough. Showers become more frequent this evening, Horowhenua and southwards, including Wairarapa. Strong northerlies prevail until a southerly change overnight. Most coastal areas remain dry, though there may be the odd shower elsewhere. Hawke's Bay is one of our warmer parts of the country with temperatures in the high 20s. Today is a mix of drier areas like Auckland and areas more likely to see the odd shower like Northland and Waikato. Winds remain from the east but are pretty light all round. Meanwhile, temperatures remain steady in the mid-20s.
24 minutes away from 8 o'clock now. Time to talk business thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar. Businesses dealing with hacks and data breaches say that we need a better plan, but a long-delayed government cybersecurity strategy is still weeks away, and that is long overdue in itself. Garth Bray, Herald Now business host, is with us. Hey, Garth.
Hey, Ryan.
When was this bad boy due?
Well, I want to take you to the cover of the last one, the one that's currently in place. We've got a shot of it there. Can you tell me what's wrong with that picture?
Well, it's quite an ugly one to begin with, but 2019?
2019. So these things are typically refreshed every couple of years, every 4 years.
And
So
we're talking,
2023, this was created before ChatGPT, before COVID, before people surged to working from home, before we were all sitting there twiddling away and getting taken in by cyber scams, before hackers had the power of AI massively, supercharging their ability to overwhelm our defences. That was introduced by Chris Farfor. He now runs the Insurance Council. He was a cabinet minister at the time. So it's kind of like, this is meant to come from the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. Christopher Luxon, please download your latest security certificate for New Zealand because it looks like our one's out of date.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I guess the guts of this is you've got Cyber CX and a great piece by Dilipra Fonseca in Business Desk saying, look, Aussie, US, Britain, our Five Eyes partners and so on, they have new and ambitious strategies they put out all the time. They say we've got to crack at looking how this plan would bolster our South Pacific neighbours because they're kind of a backdoor as well, and harden up some of the government systems, work on collaboration between industry. Crucially, there's critical infrastructure got to be in there and fighting scams as usual. But you've got to look at the procurement partners and looking at how you make sure untrustworthy providers aren't getting their software into the system for the likes of your DHBs or your health systems or anything like that, so that you're upping the ante to make things a little bit more secure.
It's funny though, because we say 2019 was a long time ago, but so was yesterday. The thing, it all moves so quickly.
But I guess if you get out of step, he makes a good point as well. The Chief Digital Officer, Paul James, was at a Spark Accelerate conference last year saying, yeah, we admit it was created 2 election cycles ago. It's probably a bit out of date now. Well,
you think?
Where's the priority? Coming in a couple of weeks, apparently.
Right, okay. Well, we'll look forward to that. By then, it'll be out of date as well.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go to the showdown. So, big tech, the US government. What's up with Anthropic today?
So, Anthropic, they make Claude, which is one of the more probably successful AI applications, you'd say, running out there. They've partnered with Palantir, which is a very big defence and security systems contractor as well. It was actually, Claude was used to help them apparently plan the Maduro capture. This is the US government
It
using
was
this,
too,
right?
I remember that.
And they had a bit of a freak out at that and said, hang on, you're in our back end here looking around at our systems. They would say a policy that from 2023 that says that responsible scaling means they want to delay AI development that might be dangerous. So they're worried about their AI being used in autonomous weapon systems or mass surveillance or things where they just say, look, it's maybe not quite that reliable yet. US Defence Department said, hell to the no, we want it. And apparently a very tense meeting earlier this week between Pete Hegseth and Daria Amadei that's been reported in the Financial Times and now more widely, where he said, you've got till 5:01 this Friday to get on board or not, otherwise we will look at invoking the Defence Procurement Act. This is from the Korean War era to say, yes, we can take your stuff, or we'll declare you a supply chain risk, or maybe both. And then lo and behold, just in the last few hours, it's come to light that it looks like they put out a wee post saying, oh yeah, we're now shifting towards prioritising competitiveness and economic growth while safety-oriented discussions have yet to gain meaningful traction, which is them kind of softening the market for, we're probably going to bow on this.
Finally, this is the fun story of the morning because Hauraki Air Base is set to become our official backup airport. We're getting 24/7 manned or womaned.
With petrol and everything. And won't it be great? I mean, so people can fly direct from Dubai straight to the Manawatu.
Exactly, to Bulls.
For a Foxton Fizz.
Just to refuel, though, just to refuel.
Gas and go, I think, is the phrase. So this is like a $4.5 million plan that James Meagher's confirmed today, I think. It's a big deal in aviation because if you're flying into the country from far away, you're making long-term plans. Crikey, there's been something bad's happened in Christchurch and there's fog in Auckland. We're just not going to go to New Zealand today. So now there's this plan, the third longest runway in the country will, after 18 months and $4.5 million, be able to do a refuel, have air traffic control, be awake 24/7 like a sort of a pit stop on the way to your journey.
Refuel and then on you go. Otherwise, they had you, thank you, Garth Bray, host of Herald Now Business, thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar. Otherwise, you had to carry an extra 6 tonnes of jet fuel to New Zealand so that you could, if you got diverted, end up somewhere useful. It is 19 minutes away from 8. Bullying and harassment of tourism and hospo workers has spiked over the last 2 years. This is according to a report commissioned by the government. The professor who led that research is with us next.
Term deposit rates are falling, but your returns shouldn't. Speak to a Forsyth Bar investment advisor about alternative strategies, their benefits and risks, and how they can help you meet your investment goals. Forsyth Bar, investment advice.
A lot of radio shows like to say they're with you in the morning.
Here at The Hits, we like to go the extra mile.
Not all of us get to experience this.
Come on, you're running late.
It's going to be a great day today, babes. I can feel it. Spit. You see, when we say we're with you, we actually mean it.
Oh, don't forget Sarah, got social netball tonight. And Mark's working late again.
Jono and Ben with you in the morning and anytime on iHeartRadio. On The Hits.
Hey, Dad.
What's up? What's up?
You know that's from the 90s, right?
So's this fuel price. 6 cents off per litre on the Gallop, even on top of discount day.
That's what's up.
Download the Gallop. What's up?
17 away from 8 now. Bullying in New Zealand's tourism and hospo industry was up last year. 35% of workers experienced harassment. That was up from 23% in 24. More than half of the reported abuse came from customers. The year before, the figure was only 26%. David Williamson is Associate Professor, AUT School of Hospo and Tourism, joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
Good to see you, David.
You too.
So is it just, are people just grumpy and angry? What do we mean harassment and bullying?
Now, there's a whole range of stuff that comes through. It's physical harassment, it's racial harassment, it's abusive language. You know, it's a real spread and it's ugly. And if we want to be attracting young people and keeping young people in the sector, which is absolutely crucial, those levels of bullying and harassment aren't going to help with that picture.
Sensitive question, but are people more, how do I say this? You know what I'm trying to say?
I think I know where you're going. Are the younger generation more sensitive, perhaps?
Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. I've been in hospo for 20 years, and it is a rock and roll area. You're working at night, you're working with alcohol, you're working with customers who sometimes are worse for wear, and it's part of the job. But I don't think it's a generational thing. I think that the evidence that we're seeing in the report shows really serious bullying and harassment. And again, I would go back to the fact that if we want to develop a strong and resilient workforce the government wants to grow tourism, grow the numbers.
Yeah, we do. We need it.
These people are at the front line of welcoming guests. They need to be feeling they're in a safe environment.
And it's like nasty stuff, because when I was doing washing dishes, I was the dish pig, or the dish bitch. They, you used to say, and you sort of laugh about it. It wasn't nasty, but would that now be considered harassment? Maybe.
I think things have changed. Yeah, I think society's moved a bit, and people expect a bit more respect and decent treatment in the workforce than perhaps I did when I was coming in. But I don't think that's the core of the problem. I think there's an opportunity here for managers and organisations to set like a standard of customer behaviour that's expected and a standard that's expected of your own internal workers, and that will provide an environment which is supportive.
David, there's a whole bunch of people who love going to restaurants because of the service that they get, the interactions they have with a waiter or waitress, whatever. But what about those who don't really care about it? Is AI and robots going to come for their jobs?
No, I don't think so. The people are always going to want to go out and have human contact. Hospitality and service is a very much human-to-human thing, and that's where the value add is. Part of what we're talking about with strengthening futures in this report is that you need to develop a workforce which has the ability to welcome, sell, crucially. If you want your business to be successful, you need to have staff who can sell the product, and they need to be happy and trained and developed in order to do that. And I think that's where there's a lot of value add to be had. Growing the industry bigger is one thing, growing it better is another. And to do that, you need to develop your staff, train them, and make sure they're feeling well rewarded.
Right.
And this report shows that some of those key things are missing.
Not being done. David, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for being
Ryan.
with me. David Williamson, Associate Professor at AUT School of Hospitality and Tourism. It is 13 minutes away from 8. Northlanders are calling for more action from the government over dog attacks. Unsurprisingly, comes after a woman was killed by dogs last week. That was the third death in the last 4 years from my memory. Susan Botting will correct me if I'm wrong. Northland local democracy reporter joining us live. Susan, good morning. What do people call it? What do they want? Like what law changes specifically? Have we got suggestions?
It's a range of options. I think law change in the Dog Control Act, it's quite an old act, is one of the things people are after. There's a whole range of other things too. Some of them are more grassroots. For example, how about having a dog license, maybe check, come and check your property, come and check your character, and if you're deemed to be suitable to have a dog, then you might get a reduction in your dog registration. It's interesting too because, councils are in a changing world and they've quite got their backs against the wall as far as income and expectations around rates capping. At the moment, most councils fund their dog work and completely through registration. So maybe they might need to consider funding that work through general rates, but then how does that work with rates capping? It seems to me that things are rather out of control. And I'd like to think that somehow we could all get together and resolve this matter. There's a huge range of things. We've even got feral dogs near Cape Reinga going around making things difficult for Aotearoa trail walkers. We've got people arming themselves with sticks and worried about sending their kids to school. We've got a whole range of things. It's quite a problem. And recently I put questions to the Prime Minister following the awful attack in Kaipara. And I asked him, is New Zealand still a first world country with these deaths? As you say, there have been 3 of the 4 last fatal dog maulings in New Zealand have been in Northland. And a huge range of people, there have been 4 altogether in the last 4 years, from a 4-year-old in Katikati in the Bay of Plenty to the 3 others in Northland, ranging from 78 to 62. So it's not really okay.
Yeah. So what did he say?
He didn't answer.
Well, I'm not surprised to hear that, Susan, unfortunately.
I too have been a person who 2 Rottweilers decided to rush at and on a morning walk, and the owners were fined. It was quite a few years ago now in Whangarei. They were fined $200. The woman that I recently talked to was a woman from Ruakaka near Whangarei with her little dog Dolly. And she went along for her daily walk and heard a dog barking and growling as she got out of her car. She thought, I don't like that noise. I don't like that dog. So off she went to the beach down the track. And she turned around because she heard the dog suddenly getting closer, and the dog was on a lead with its 3 people. And so she sped up and walked off up the beach. She turned around for home about half an hour later and saw the big dog. It was a pit bull, she said, with the 3 people playing in the water. So she quickly put her dog Dolly back on the lead, and she went to pick Dolly up, but she didn't have time because the big dog came exploding out of the water and went and clamped its big jaw on her neck, little Dolly's neck. And so the people that were with the dog were calling out to the dog, but the dog took no notice. And so one of the guys got to the dog, and the owner was saying, please, get that dog's jaws off my little Dolly. She's going to be killed. Eventually, the owner managed to prise the dogs off Dolly. And the interesting thing was that the people with the big dog, the woman whose little dog Dolly was shaking uncontrollably by now, asked for contact details and said that it was given false information for name and number. So people's hands are tied in terms of the authorities because they can't follow up. I've done some research. I'd say there were roughly 50,000 dogs in Northland, and that's quite a lot. And also around other places in the country. I noticed Auckland Council recently has said we want to beef up dog control legal backings. We're hardly keeping our head above water, even though we've got more capacity than many other councils. So it's really, really worrying situation. And what does that do for tourism? If in the far north we have feral dogs as well, which is different from roaming domesticated dogs. So it's quite worrying.
No, it certainly does not great for tourism, is it? Susan, really appreciate your update this morning as always. Susan Botting, Northland local democracy reporter. It is 8 minutes away from 8. Coming up next, Zespri hoping to look through Trump and his tariffs. They had an exemption, of course, to the most recent round. They've got a 10-year strategy and they are launching it. They want to be the world's healthiest fruit brand. Riley Kennedy's with us live next.
Know more of the story with Herald Premium, giving you full access to in-depth news, opinion and analysis, with more world news, business insights, and investigative reports from our world-class team of journalists. Plus subscriber-only functionality to comment on stories, access newspaper e-editions, gift articles, and enjoy crosswords and puzzles. Subscribe now to Herald Premium.
When building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build the GJs because they're good quality that they always provide us.
They help us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ Gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJ's to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
Welcome back. Time to get the latest on the rural sector. Riley Kennedy's with us, senior journalist at Business Desk in Tauranga at Zespri's Momentum Conference this morning. Riley, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good to see you. Before we get into anything, good to see that dairy report out this morning.
Yes, I actually haven't read it yet, but we did know that there had been quite a big uplift in milk production, which obviously didn't weigh down on prices as it usually does. So we're in for 2 strong years at least.
Yeah, 100%. They were very happy about it on the radio this morning, Riley. Now, you're at Zespri, obviously that's your focus today. So what's going on there?
Well, speaking of dairy, 2 weeks ago we talked about butter. But do you eat kiwi fruit?
Yes. It's in my. Actually, I have it in my oats in my porridge every morning, Riley.
I haven't quite managed to eat my kiwi fruit this morning, but here in Tauranga, there's 600 delegates from actually across the world. There's growers from here in New Zealand. There's customers. Actually, just heard a customer go down past my hotel hallway here saying how much they love New Zealand. But the sort of the centerpiece of the conference is they're launching their new strategy out to 2035, and part of that is to become the world's healthiest fruit brand, which to me, as a very business mind, sounded awfully scientific. But the more I understand it now, it's more of delivering a healthy brand, a healthy product to customers, but also just running a healthy business, making healthy decisions. So it's been quite interesting. The conference is a very slick operation. Jason DeBrake, the chief executive, came out on stage yesterday with a lot of flashing lights and the song Rise Up by 660. So it's sort of a bit of a hype session for the who's who of the New Zealand kiwi fruit industry. But under this strategy, that they were told yesterday that the revenue will grow by at least, will double. Sales revenue will double in the next 10 years, and returns to growers will grow by a factor of 1.5 to 2 times in that period. So there was a lot of positivity in the room yesterday for kiwi fruit growers.
Now to PGG Wrightson, the results pretty good. Retail business, strong year. Agency business too?
Yes, so it sort of goes to this theory that the economy is going much better south of the Bombay Hills. I put that to Stephen Guerin, the chief executive of PGG Wrightson's, and he said, well, I just spent 2 days at the South Island Field Days, and I'm sure you wouldn't see the amount of positivity at a home show in Auckland is what we saw in Gore. But there's people have got more money. Obviously, as we know, all dairy farmers, or 8,500 dairy farmers, about to get $2 a share back from Mainland Group. They're going to have more money to spend. Also, they're going to get another special dividend from Mainland as well. So that's starting to really flow through, and you're seeing that in the results we're seeing just outside of Wrightson's, but across everyone. We're really starting to see the benefits of those high commodity prices.
What about Comvita? Looks like they're getting themselves back on track, Riley?
Yeah, so as we remember last year, they had a deal that was quite controversial amongst their shareholders. It got voted down. This time around, they look like they've got another deal. They won't say who yet. It's a strategic investor, whatever that means. But outside of that, the results were pretty strong actually. The sort of move past the glut and Manuka honey, the revenue was up, debt was down, and inventory had come back to a reasonable level, which is really crucial. You don't want to have too much inventory sitting on your balance sheet.
Riley, enjoy the conference. Appreciate your time this morning as always. Riley Kennedy, Senior Journalist at Business Desk. It is 2 minutes away from 8. We'll stay with dairy. We started there just a second ago for just a moment. The State of Dairy Nation report was out last night. 24-25 season we've produced the most milk ever, 21 billion litres. Export earnings also highest ever, $27 billion. On ZB this morning, I spoke with Carl Dean, Dairy NZ Chair from Fed Farmers, and I started off by asking him, is this worth celebrating?
Definitely worth celebrating. Shows that performance on dairy farms is continuing to increase, and by the looks of the report, also profitability, which flows through to what this government needs, which is tax revenue.
100%. The increase, the production per cow is interesting. Can you explain how we're getting more out of them?
So every year we get slightly better production per cow, just due to genetics and due to the fact that farmers are constantly refining their practices and getting the most that they can efficiency-wise out of animals and out of the grass, while making sure they're not using any more inputs.
So the herd testing, how important is that to making sure that, if you're testing the herd and then you're mating with the right size?
So it's very important that farmers have the most data possible to make those decisions. So the idea of herd testing is knowing exactly what the production of each cow is, and therefore being able to mate that cow to the best sire to make sure that you get the best offspring.
Makes sense. So this is genetics, this is data. How does our efficiency, how does your output per cow compare to the rest of the world?
So our output per cow doesn't look great compared to the rest of the world, because we are one of the only countries in the world that are on a pasture-based system and only calve once a year. So for that sort of system, we're doing very well, but there's only about 3 countries in the world that really do that well, and New Zealand's the leader of those.
That's also why our milk's so good though, right?
It is indeed why our milk is some of the best in the world.
Kia ora, good morning. Great to have your company. Thursday, the 26th of February. On the show this hour, should scooters be allowed in bike lanes? Should kids be allowed to ride their bikes in walking lanes, aka footpaths? Government wants to ring in some changes to our road rules. Transport Minister Chris Bishop is with us live. And Uber's fleet of self-driving cars will be hitting the streets of London in the near future with a little help from Kiwi technology. We talk to the brain behind it. And we've earned a reputation for binge drinking, but new data says Kiwis are drinking less than ever before. So what's behind us backing off the booze? All that ahead. First, here's Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
A banking expert's calling the Reserve Bank's proposal to enforce the opening of more branches and ATMs a waste of money. Public consultations opened on the bank's wish to require accessible cash services countrywide free of charge through more branches and ATMs. However, Massey University banking professor Claire Matthews says branches and ATMs closed because they weren't being used. She says there are more useful things banks could be forced to spend their money on, such as giving people access to low-cost bank accounts. The dairy sector has delivered a record year. Data from Dairy NZ's annual State of the Dairy Nation report shows farmers produced an unprecedented 21 billion litres of milk in the 2024-25 season. It's also delivered the highest ever export earnings worth $27.1 billion. This was achieved despite the national herd falling 0.5%. The last piece of the puzzle for overnight air traffic control, with the government opening up a new 24/7 alternative runway for commercial airlines. Funding's been approved for the round-the-clock service at Hauraki Air Force Base near Palmerston North. Under aviation laws, commercial flights must nominate an alternative runway in case a plane can't land at its destination. Board of Airline Representatives Executive Director Kath O'Brien told Ryan Bridge, "This is important, as long-haul aircraft often start running low on fuel." She says it's key to have an airport where airlines can divert to if they need and then get on their way once they refuel. An e-scooter sharing firm is backing the government's moves to update road rules. Transport Minister Chris Bishop announced the proposals yesterday, including allowing under 13s to ride bikes on footpaths and for e-scooters to use cycle lanes. Despite it being common practice, it's currently unlawful for the scooters to use cycle lanes. Flamingo co-founder Jackson Love says clarity is needed. He says a proposal would clear up confusion and align with how riders are already using the cycle lane network. Wairoa Mayor Craig Little is welcoming further government intervention in his council. A Crown manager's been reappointed for another year to make sure the Wairoa District Council and Hawke's Bay Regional Council complete a $70 million flood protection project. A cabinet paper suggests the plan may otherwise be delayed and flooding could put residents' lives at risk. The report on Phase 2 of the Royal Commission of Inquiry into COVID-19 lessons is being handed to the Governor-General today. Public hearings were held mid-last year with testimonies from multiple communities about the lockdowns in 2021 and vaccine mandates.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
The Black Caps have dominated Sri Lanka to win their Super 8 cricket match by 61 runs at the Men's T20 World Cup in Colombo. The White Ferns have beaten Zimbabwe by 92 runs in their opening T20 at Hamilton. Representatives from World Cup hosting cities have expressed security concerns 3.5 months from the start of the men's football showpiece, given the current United States federal government shutdown. And the 105th New Zealand Golf Open has teed off at Millbrook.
Just gone 8:05. In breaking news this morning, reports out of the US, the Justice Department reportedly didn't release documents from the Epstein files that allege Donald Trump sexually abused a girl who was aged around 13 or 14. The allegations, which stem from the 1980s, claim Trump forced the victim to perform oral sex on him. She claims that after the incident, Trump, quote, punched her in the head and kicked her out. The victim was interviewed in 2019 by the FBI, but the documents were withheld by the Justice Department.
Herald Now Weather.
Kia ora. A rainy front moves up the South Island today with a switch to cooler southwesterly winds behind it. Meanwhile, the high pressure slowly moves away from the North Island, but it's still looking like a warm day in Tairawhiti, Gisborne and Hawke's Bay. After a rainy morning, things clear up in the afternoon, although they could take longer to do so in central Otago and the Southern Lakes area. Well, the pictures say it all. Cloud, rain and cooler temperatures. But that rain may take longer to reach areas at the top of the island like Nelson and Marlborough. Showers become more frequent this evening, Horowhenua and southwards, including Wairarapa. Strong northerlies prevail until a southerly change overnight. Most coastal areas remain dry, though there may be the odd shower elsewhere. Hawke's Bay is one of our warmer parts of the country with temperatures in the high 20s. Today is a mix of drier areas like Auckland and areas more likely to see the odd shower like Northland and Waikato. Winds remain from the east but are pretty light all round. Meanwhile, temperatures remain steady in the mid-20s.
Time is 8:07. We'll get to Chris Bishop on the road rules in just a second. First, Uber has given more information about the air taxi service that it hopes to launch in Dubai later this year. Here's the aircraft. It's electric and it's made by Joby Aviation. You'll be able to book your air taxi through the Uber app. Uber will then send an Uber Black to pick you up and drop you off at your Joby vertiport. The air taxi seats 4 people, has a top speed of 320 kilometres an hour and a range of up to 160 kilometres.
People spend on average more than 93 hours stuck in traffic. That is more than 12 days just completely stuck in traffic. Imagine if we can get this time back. This is what we're trying to achieve at Joby. We're building a completely new way of mobility.
Pretty cool. Start date is yet to be confirmed, and we're still arguing about road rules here in New Zealand. In Dubai, you won't even need them, will you? You need sky rules. Speaking of Uber, speaking of innovation, their fleet of self-driving cars will be hitting the streets of London in the near future with a little help from Kiwi technology. London-based startup Wave has raised $2.5 billion for their robo-taxi tech and have partnered with Uber for its rollout. Alex Kendall is the co-founder and CEO and joins us this morning. Alex, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
What a cool partnership. Tell us how all this came about.
Oh, look, this has been not overnight, but a decade of hard work. We've taken a different approach to autonomy, one that we've looked to build an AI system that can drive any vehicle anywhere all around the world. And 10 years of hard work has emerged to this point now where last year we showed it could drive in over 500 cities around the world in many different cars from different manufacturers. And this was once a very contrarian approach, but now we've brought together support across the industry from three of the biggest car companies, Mercedes, Nissan, and Stellantis, as well as Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Uber, to back this journey with this capital that's really signaling a shift from R&D into a commercialization phase.
What you said it was sort of a contrarian view or approach that you were taking. Why so?
What we were seeing at the time, and I saw this building robots growing up in Christchurch, is that when you're trying to hand code systems that drive with maps and rules, which is the way the industry was approaching this before, it's really hard to scale. The worlds we live in are so messy and unexpected that if you have to tell the car how to behave with everything you encounter, it's really difficult and perhaps not possible to scale. So we had the view when I started the company that actually we can use machine learning to learn to understand this complexity and train an AI to drive anywhere you want to go with the ability to make decisions without needing to be pre-programmed. So that view is what we started working on 10 years ago before everyone, I think, is now convinced that AI can do amazing things, but that really wasn't the case 10 years ago, but it's allowed us to get to where we are today.
Alex, so you're talking about a car that teaches itself how to drive, essentially.
It learns from all of the experience. And so we take experience from our fleet that's now driving around the world, as well as our partners like Uber and the car companies that we work with, and take all of this data to train the system so it learns how to drive and understand all of the unexpected and edge case scenarios that you might see. But we're going to be deploying this technology this year, which is really exciting, in robo-taxi trials in 10 cities around the world, starting in London, and from next year in cars that you can buy, where you can buy a car and have this AI driver in it to give you a autonomous driving experience.
How does that differ from autonomous driven vehicles that are currently on the roads in places like California?
Well, so we're now entering this phase where autonomy is coming in a big way, and the benefits can be profound to cities. But not only have we been contrarian in our technology development, but also in the business model that we're applying. So you have three ways to bring autonomy to market. You can build your own cars. I mean, that's what Tesla's doing. I think every car will be autonomous, but not everyone wants to buy a Tesla. And so that's one model. The second model is you could deploy your own fleet. And you can see some robotaxi fleets that are going city by city in their rollout, but they're constrained in that expansion, and it's very capital intensive to go and do that. So we've taken a third option, which is to license this technology to car companies and fleets around the world. And this gives us the largest opportunity because we can give this autonomy technology to every vehicle that moves. And this lets us build a high margin software business, one that can really scale. And it's only possible because we've built this AI that's flexible. It can drive different cars. We've driven small electric vehicles to large SUVs and vans. And of course, be flexible to drive all around the world with different use cases, from personally owned vehicles to robo-taxis and more.
Alex, it's pretty amazing what you're doing, especially, as you said, starting out in Christchurch. Tell me a little bit about what you think the future looks like. When will we all be driven around by an AI autonomous car?
Good question. I think we're going to see, we're starting these trials, and as we mature the technology from supervised robotaxi trials to start scaling it with manufacturing, I think in the 2030s, we're going to start to see this technology become ubiquitous, why would you buy a car that doesn't have autonomy? Because the safety benefits of, I think we're going to see opportunity to really drive the road toll in New Zealand down to zero, as well as the ability to free up time on your commute or on long journeys to let the AI take responsibility for driving and give you that time back if that's what you choose. And it'll be a great choice, whether it's cars you want to own to drive anywhere, or mobility services that will come into cities that will exist alongside public transport. I think this is going to be a real change that will improve the roads for us around the world.
Alex, appreciate your time this morning. Congratulations on all the success and keep up the hard work.
Thanks, mate.
Alex Kendall, co-founder and CEO of Wave. The last words he mentioned there, this is AI self-driving robo-taxis, essentially, that will be coming to a city near you, including London. Music to the ears of the Transport Minister, who's just sat down at the desk here next to me, because the last words that he mentioned were zero road toll in New Zealand, a zero death road toll in New Zealand, if we all adopt the technology that he's talking about. He is sitting there, I promise, I'm not making it up. There he is. Right, we'll get to him in a second.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Well, if we switch to 2 degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans, and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then. Mm-hmm.
We've done few subdivisions with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff, always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
You don't shout out like some bunch of clowns at university.
My message to the union is very clear. Don't do
The New Zealand Herald, news worth knowing.
It's just gone 16 after 8. Great to have your company this morning. Do your kids ride their bikes on footpaths? Well, they're currently breaking the law, so go and call the police, have them arrested. Don't worry, it's all about to change. Government says it wants to fix the basics of our transport rules, allowing children up to the age of 12 to ride on pavements. The proposal would also let e-scooters use cycle lanes, as well as require drivers to give way to buses pulling out from bus stops. Chris Bishop's the Transport Minister. He is going to herald in the changes after some consultation. Is at the desk. Good morning.
Good morning.
The buses, I mean, they already do that anyway, don't they?
Yeah, it's not the law. So this is basically making it a rule so that, you know, if you're travelling along on a suburban road and the bus in front of you, and many people would do that, a lot of people just let them in as a matter of courtesy.
Yeah.
But it's not actually the law, and some people try and go around them, and that causes a bit of chaos. So the point is now, you know, if you're travelling at 60k or below, buses pulling out, you've got to give way. So, you know, is it the biggest thing in the world? No. Is it going to, like, you know, change the economy and fix the cost of living and all the rest of it? No. But, you know, it's a sensible change.
It's just a thing you do, isn't it, when you're the Transport Minister?
Yeah, well, we've got a whole massive program of reform, which most people will find incredibly boring, but it's things like that, what we're talking about. It's things like, you know, scooters and cycle lanes. There's a whole lot of stuff to do with heavy vehicles, with trucks, which is obviously important for freight. Some of these rules are really out of date, like they were set in like the 90s, 2000s. No one's gone away and updated them for modern technology, modern rules. So we're just going through all of that, and just kind of behind the scenes. He hasn't got a lot of attention last couple of years. Just sensible things that I think people would say, yeah, it's good, get on with it, hurry up.
Yeah.
Most people say, why does it take so long?
Well, exactly. So why are you bothering to consult?
Well, the law says we have to. That's why. Yeah.
We need to change these laws.
Well,
because everyone's consulting.
The flip side is I could just wave a wand and do it, and then people would say, "Oh, why are you not going out and talking to the public and making sure?"
Yeah, but just tell those people to shut up. You know.
Well,
who are those people anyway?
Tempting as that is, as a politician who talks to the public, no.
Hey, what about bus lanes? This is something that grinds my gears. Bus lanes, I understand, I get it. But they're often, especially in Auckland, they're labelled. So you can't drive on the bus lane between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m.
Yep.
But the signs that say that are so small, and people are so scared of the fines. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
So you've got this massive line of traffic at midday when it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And people say, what are we going to do about that?
Yeah, so I think there's something needs to be done there. So the Cambridge Terrace one in Wellington, the same problem. And I think Andrew Little's now saying that's pinged hundreds of people. And the fines are through the roof, and it's not because Wellingtonians, but like you said, it's not that they don't support the idea of a bus lane. It's good because it moves more traffic and it reduces congestion. But you got to know when you're allowed to be there and when you're not. It's a bit like the T2 lanes, right? People,
yes.
T3s. People get fired up when they can't see it's 7:30 to 8, whatever it is, and so the signage has got to be clear.
Do you know what? I think they need flashing, just a green flashing light.
Oh yeah.
That says that bus lane's all good for you to use. When it's flashing red, can't use it.
That's not the world's worst idea. Why don't we do that?
Well, you're the Transport Minister.
I mean, that's a good question.
Make it happen.
Tell you what, I will look into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There may be some operating costs and things like that. But if it makes the system work better and people support it more because they're not being pinged all the time, then there's probably a real merit to that. So tell you what, there's your little scoop for today, Ryan.
Great.
I'll go away and look at that.
I've actually never been happier about anything because it annoys me every day. Hey, Labour and the bridge situation. Did you see? So Chris Hipkins says we're only going to toll, has no idea how much anything's costing at this point, whatever. Only going to toll one of the bridges, which the Infracom said is a silly idea because everyone will just use the free road. So how are you going to pay for the new one? Thoughts?
It's been a bit frustrating because we're genuinely trying to work really hard in the national interest here, do it evidence-based, talk to the opposition. They've been briefed on it, over the last couple of years, and we've said we won't make a decision without, kind of bipartisan support. And then, for the sake of a cheap headline, it's a bit frustrating. Here's the issue, right? This is complicated, and I think you made that point. If you build a tunnel, and the tunnel goes north, so the way you leave the city and go north to the North Shore is under the tunnel, that's new, right? So you toll that. Now, some people would be unhappy about that, but, I think most people would say, okay, toll it. At that point, the existing bridge, which you keep, that goes south into the city from the North Shore. Well, it's a bit tricky to toll one bit and not the other one. But of course, if you do a tunnel that goes both ways, a bridge that goes both ways, or a tunnel that goes both ways, then you've got new and old, and you can start to look at, maybe only doing the new and not doing the old. That's sort of my point, is that it depends on what you build, where you build it, how the traffic flow works, and we should be taking it as a network view rather than just there's a new piece of equipment there. Because we've got to look at the Auckland transport network, because the bridge is part of a network, right? 200,000 vehicle movements per day across the bridge, millions of cars on Auckland's roads in any given morning. So let's actually have a proper, comprehensive, evidence-based discussion, which is what we're trying to do, and others maybe are not.
Right. So at the moment, the plan that you have shown them, or your ideas you've kicked around with them, is it that you would have one tunnel or bridge going one way and then one tunnel or bridge going the other way, or is it that you would have both ways on both bridges?
We haven't made that decision yet,
right.
and in fact the officials are still doing the work on it. It's a really big call. We're talking about 10, 15, $20 billion. I'm not giving you a number, but it's big, right? That is a huge amount of money. For context, it's 8 transmission gully motorways, it's 7 or 8 Puhoi to Warkworth 4-lane expressways. It's 8 Dunedin hospitals. It's big, man. It's really big. And I think people would say, you guys have got to get that right. So we don't know what we're building. So here's the thing. We don't know what we're building yet. We haven't made that decision. We don't know where it will go yet. We don't know how much it will cost. And we haven't done the work on the financing and the funding arrangements yet. We're doing all of that, and we want to do it in a transparent way. and work our way through it, because it's one of the biggest things any government will do for the country for probably 50 years. And we want to do it in a bipartisan way. But
to come out and say one bridge not tolled is kind of doing it with one hand behind your back.
Well, there's an information asymmetry. There's a lack of info around that to have an informed conversation. So I just say, look, Auckland needs a new harbour crossing sooner rather than later, because the existing bridge is resilient. It has to be closed all the time. It's end of life and all the rest of it. We know that. We're committed to doing that, but we're also committed, frankly, and I think the public would support us in this. I hope they would. We're committed to doing it in a proper way, an evidence-based discussion, and we'll do it in the national interest. We're not going to make it by ourselves. All right. We want to do it properly. Hey, let's do it. Let's do that properly.
When are we going to get autonomous cars?
Well, they're technically allowed in New Zealand now.
So why aren't they here?
Well, I don't think anyone's come down and actually rolled them out here yet, but we are open to that, and they're technically legal now. We may have to make some other rule changes, which we're up for as well.
And autonomous drones?
Yes.
That fly you as a passenger? They're doing it in Dubai apparently later this year.
Well,
but
are you going to volunteer to be the first one?
Well, maybe you could. You're the transport minister.
We could do it together.
You go
on
first.
a little ticky tour around Auckland. It'd be good.
We wouldn't even need a bridge. Imagine the money you save. Chris Bishop, Transport Minister, on the show. Good to see you. Thank you. 24 after 8. Disgraced former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has been ordered to stop riding horses. Royal aides reportedly warned the former Duke of York not to be seen on horseback, saying it would be a bad look for him to be enjoying himself while under police investigation. Mountbatten Windsor was last week arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office and accusations that he shared confidential information with paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. He is the first member of the royal family in modern history to be detained. Right, we'll be back in just a few moments with our panel of the day, talking through the big issues. It is 25 minutes after 8.
Stop paying the waiting tax. The money you could miss out on by delaying the start of your investment journey. Up your tempo with Tempo, the guided investment app that helps you get started. Don't delay because you don't think you have enough time, money, or know-how. All you need is a goal, and our guidance will help with the rest. You can do it. We can help. Here's how. Download Tempo now.
Hip-hop and R&B. Flavour.
Here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference, but 2 degrees has the most satisfied customers. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost center reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can have what she's having.
Ready?
One Roof Property. Love where you live.
The New Zealand Herald. News worth knowing.
Welcome back. It is 27 after 8. Joining me now to debate the big stories of the day, Alexia Hilbertidu, Girl Boss NZ CEO, and Dave Latelli, BBM Motivation founder. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you both. So we'll start with cash. Reserve Bank reckons we need more ATMs, we need more branches with tellers in them, like it's 1984 again. What do you reckon, Alexia? When was the last time you used cash?
I mean, I don't use cash myself. When I saw this coming through, I thought, look, it could be a win on a board for people in rural New Zealand, perhaps some older people as well. Overall, we are moving to more cashless society, so it seems a little bit like a policy which is bringing back, encyclopedias on every corner. But could be some wins there. things I would be concerned about, we're looking to go from around 2,000 cash services site to this would enable 3,000 cash services site. Now that is an additional cost on banks. They're saying that they expect that may be passed on over to the customer. Their estimates, they're saying that that would raise mortgage rates, guessing from 4.5, for example, to 4.518. So if you have a $1 million mortgage, you're looking at an extra $180 potentially if that cost is passed over. So things to consider. Do we want to pay an extra $180 to keep cash? Maybe worth it for rural New Zealand.
Times have changed, eh?
Times have
changed. I interviewed a lady the other day, and she said, we're talking about budgeting, right? And she's going through a budget and going through her bank account, realised she's spending too much money on weed. And I said, geez, times have changed. They're even paying for weed electronically now. So
What?
Times have changed, man. No more cash. No more $20 needed.
But also, marijuana is one of those products that doesn't inflate. Like it's traditionally been the same price since
Always
the
been
80s.
$20.
And also looking at...
Okay, all right. Well, don't tell the cops about that. Hey, coward punching. This is a serious one. We spoke to Eugene Berriman from City Boxing this morning, and he was saying, this is after the death of Hauraki, that he wants a minimum 8 years sentence, because at the moment they're looking at law changes, but there's no minimum, which is really what you want.
Yeah, there has to be a minimum, because this is why there's so much inconsistency around this. And then the judges look at, were there any other determining factors? Were they drunk? What's the intent like? There's all these other things that the judges are privy to that no one else is. And that's why it's so hard to get a consistent sentencing. If you have a minimum, there should be a minimum for things like this. Things like child abuse, there should just be a minimum. How can these guys get out, like this guy that done that to Hauraki, out in 11 months? This poor daughter and their poor family have to live with that for the rest of their life. She no longer has a dad, and this guy's out. So there should 100% be a minimum of whatever, what is that saying, 8 years, 11 years? 100%.
And we saw the New Plymouth community came out as well over the death. A father came out over the death of his son. He was standing outside the local rugby club. Someone went up to him, punched him completely unprovoked. Absolutely devastating. And then filmed it and mocked his death.
Yeah.
And what was the punishment? 4 years.
Yeah.
The judge even said, this doesn't feel quite, he didn't feel it felt quite right, but I must apply the law as it stands.
Yeah, it's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace that they can get away with this. If you're sneaking up from someone behind and you punch them with all your might, you are wanting to inflict the most pain and death as possible.
I'll be curious to see if this law, I think National are in support of this. It was raised again in 2020. Labor shut it down. Chris Hipkins hasn't come out and said whether or not he's standing with, the punches or the being punched. So I do think though that New Zealanders do want this law to change.
Yeah, and it will be. It's going through select committee at the moment. It's just a matter of whether they will change it enough, to satisfy those people who've been victims. Now, bullying in the workplace. We spoke earlier about tourism and hospo, and its customers as much as co-workers. But if you work in hospo, it seems to be that industry in particular. You really cop it, Lexia.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I was reading up about that report, and I think the why really comes down to the sort of wider entitlement economy. That's what I would call it. People want to, review everything. Algorithms are fast. Algorithms are personalised. Everything needs to be personalised to me. I mean, even if we look at entertainment, gone are the days where we only had Channel 1 and Channel 2. I wasn't alive when these days existed. I do
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
I do hear that these days, they did exist. There was a time where there was only Channel 1 and Channel 2.
Do you remember VHS? Do you know what they are? Do you know what cassette tapes are?
No, but that was before my time. But I've seen them. And now we want to stop, pause, repeat, binge watch, when and where, on demand. And that has flow-on impacts where we want to walk into the cafe and you should know who I am. It should be personalised. And if I'm not happy, 1 star.
They threaten a review.
Well, that's the problem, is now the consumer is so powerful. And I know that as a business owner myself. If you go into a cafe and you do a 1 star and you go on social media, then you can cause real genuine harm to that cafe. So they're fearful, they don't back their staff.
It's always been around.
Power,
It's always been around. I was a waiter. Can you imagine that? I was a waiter, and I remember serving some steak to someone, and it was, the chef didn't cook it very well. And I said, I'm really sorry about this, sir. I can take it back and we'll redo it. And he goes, I wouldn't let you touch it for obvious reasons. Yeah. So it's this stuff's always been. It's another disgrace. And you got to smile and take it.
Disgrace.
You got to smile and take it.
Well, that's the thing, because the customer's always right.
Yeah.
I can remember I worked at a restaurant with my friend, and I worked my way up to be maitre d'. Thank you very much. But he got fired because this is the opposite kind of story. But he was carrying, one of those hot plates and you got steak on it and it's like burning. So he dropped it on the carpet at Cobb & Co. and just picked it up with a little tea towel thing, picked it up, put it back on the plate and then carried on. And thought, because the customer couldn't see him, but the boss was looking.
Yes.
Fired. So anyway, if someone's rude to you, you can get them back. It doesn't needn't always be a one-way street.
Yeah, that special sauce.
All right, that's enough. Good to see you both this morning. Thank you. We need to go to news very quickly. It is Alexia Hilbertidu, Girl Boss NZ CEO, and Dave Latelli, BBM Motivation founder. Here's Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
A banking expert's calling the Reserve Bank's proposal to enforce the opening of more branches and ATMs a waste of money. Public consultations opened on the bank's wish to require accessible cash services countrywide free of charge through more branches and ATMs. However, Massey University banking professor Claire Matthews says branches and ATMs closed because they weren't being used. She says there are more useful things banks could be forced to spend their money on, such as giving people access to low-cost bank accounts. The dairy sector has delivered a record year. Data from Dairy NZ's annual State of the Dairy Nation report shows farmers produced an unprecedented 21 billion litres of milk in the 2024-25 season. It's also delivered the highest ever export earnings, worth $27.1 billion. This was achieved despite the national herd falling 0.5%. The last piece of the puzzle for overnight air traffic control, with the government opening up a new 24/7 alternative runway for commercial airlines. Funding's been approved for the round-the-clock service at Hauraki Air Force Base near Palmerston North. Under aviation laws, commercial flights must nominate an alternative runway in case a plane can't land at its destination. Board of Airline Representatives Executive Director Kath O'Brien told Ryan Bridge this is important as long-haul aircraft often start running low on fuel. She says it's key to have an airport where airlines can divert to if they need and then get on their way once they refuel. An e-scooter sharing firm is backing the government's moves to update road rules. Transport Minister Chris Bishop announced the proposals yesterday, including allowing under-13s to ride bikes on footpaths and for e-scooters to use cycle lanes. Despite it being common practice, it's currently unlawful for the scooters to use cycle lanes. Flamingo co-founder Jackson Love says clarity is needed. He says a proposal would clear up confusion and align with how riders are already using the cycle lane network. Wairoa Mayor Craig Little is welcoming further government intervention in his council. A Crown manager's been reappointed for another year to make sure the Wairoa District Council and Hawke's Bay Regional Council complete a $70 million flood protection project. A cabinet paper suggests the plan may otherwise be delayed and flooding could put residents' lives at risk. The report on Phase 2 of the Royal Commission of Inquiry into COVID-19 lessons is being handed to the Governor-General today. Public hearings were held mid-last year with testimonies from multiple communities about the lockdowns in 2021 and vaccine mandates.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
The Black Caps have dominated Sri Lanka to win their Super 8 cricket match by 61 runs at the Men's T20 World Cup in Colombo. The White Ferns have beaten Zimbabwe by 92 runs in their opening T20 at Hamilton. Representatives from World Cup hosting cities have expressed security concerns 3.5 months from the start of the men's football showpiece, given the current United States federal government shutdown. And the 105th New Zealand Golf Open has teed off at Millbrook.
Herald Now weather.
Kia ora. A rainy front moves up the South Island today with a switch to cooler southwesterly winds behind it. Meanwhile, the high pressure slowly moves away from the North Island, but it's still looking like a warm day in Tairawhiti, Gisborne and Hawke's Bay. After a rainy morning, things clear up in the afternoon, although they could take longer to do so in central Otago and the Southern Lakes area. Well, the pictures say it all: cloud, rain and cooler temperatures. But that rain may take longer to reach areas at the top of the island like Nelson and Marlborough. Showers become more frequent this evening, Horowhenua and southwards, including Wairarapa. Strong northerlies prevail until a southerly change overnight. Most coastal areas remain dry, though there may be the odd shower elsewhere. Hawke's Bay is one of our warmer parts of the country with temperatures in the high 20s. Today is a mix of drier areas like Auckland and areas more likely to see the odd shower like Northland and Waikato. Winds remain from the east but are pretty light all round. Meanwhile, temperatures remain steady in the mid-20s.
21 minutes away from 9 o'clock now, and that means it's time to talk property thanks to our partners GJ Gardner. Selling a house in the current market can be a bit of a slog. The latest figures showing it takes an average of 54 days, nearly 2 months to land a buyer, but there are exceptions. Catherine Smith is multimedia journalist at One Roof, joins us this morning. Catherine, lovely to have you back.
Good morning.
So 54 days, is that, how does that compare? Is that...
It's about the same as a year, this time last year, 1 or 2 days. The difference is that there's some outrageous exceptions, either ones that are taking 100 days or not, and ones that are taking 2 weeks. And the difference is whether there's a beautiful, amazing renovation and there's 20 people wanted on the day and someone gives a pre-auction offer. Those places are going in 2 weeks. And then there's others that sit, and they were listed in 2024 and they were listed in 2025 and now they're relisted in 2026 that just haven't found their buyer yet, if I can sound like a real estate agent.
Well, a little bit, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But is it because they haven't had a bit of a spruce up? I mean, just give it a spruce up.
Yep, quite often. I mean, 24 and 25, it was people hanging out for prices that they thought they could have got in 2021 and 2022. Those days aren't coming back. They're not coming back for a long, long time. And so finally, by 2020, end of 25, beginning of 26, vendors have realised, I just have to move on with my life. I have to sell my house in this market. I'll be buying something in this market. I'm not going to get the windfalls. It was crazy money. In 2021, auctions, 80-90% of auctions was, 80 to 90% of properties were selling under auctions. Today, it's more like the 50s. And in some segments, it's 30% are selling. So
and does it matter where? Because I mean, you say this about the COVID prices, and you're right. But look at Queenstown Lakes. I mean, it's like the COVID slump never happened.
Yes, that's right. It didn't actually slump. It didn't go crazy, and it's just got all the magic things. Although it doesn't quite have foreign buyers yet, it will by the 6th of March. So that will change life. And Christchurch actually is probably an exception as well. That Christchurch market just kept on going. But of course they had the earthquake and all the rebuilds after the earthquake. But if you live in the South Island, if you live in Westland, you can sell a place in 30 days, but you're selling it for $200,000, $300,000.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
Good luck. Yeah.
Hey, you've got a property of the week this week is McLeod Estate. Tell us about it.
Oh, it's in Hiranui. It's, yes,
Ooh,
it's amazing.
Here we go.
Now, the story behind this is that literally a builder wandered into the Hiranui pub. Does that sound like the start of a good joke? He'd missed out on a property and he was looking for something to buy, and the publican said, I've got one right next door, and he bought it. So at that point, you can see there's those 2 little cottages. They're actually built in the 2000s, and so then this builder ripped in, because you can see that tunnel is the wine cellar. And it's, a long tunnel and then the wine cellar at the end, and it was the original cellar for the pub. I mean, the pub goes back to the 1850s or something. And then the builder built that amenity centre, which is a really clever kitchen, very luxurious bathrooms. He put the glamping tent in, he did the whole thing up. But God bless him, the reason he's selling is that he can't deal with bridezillas. So he thought it would be a great wedding venue, apart from one thing, the brides. So.
Fair enough too. All right, well then someone can take it off his hands.
Yes, it's about an hour out of Christchurch. Gorgeous views. You saw the Southern Alps there, the river there. I mean, you know, if we were all changing our lives, we could go down and do that. You've
Certainly
worked in hospo.
I have. And look, it would be a stunning place to go and work, wouldn't it? Better than looking at this lot.
Oh,
good to see you, Catherine. Thanks
see
for
you
coming
next
in,
time.
as always.
Bye-bye.
Catherine Smith, multimedia journalist at One Roof. Thanks.
We
Thanks.
didn't do reasons things don't tell.
Oh, yes. Well, we didn't do reasons things don't sell, but we haven't got time, Catherine.
No,
we can do it next time.
Another time, any time.
Good to see
If that's
you.
the perennial.
Good to, exactly. Catherine, we're still on air. Thanks to our partners, GJ Guard. That is Catherine Smith, who you know will be back. It is 16 away from 9. Back in a second.
Term deposit rates are falling, but your returns shouldn't. Speak to a Forsyth Barr investment advisor about alternative strategies, their benefits and risks, and how they can help you meet your investment goals. Forsyth Barr, investment advice.
A lot of radio shows like to say they're with you in the morning.
Here at The Hits, we like to go the extra mile.
Not all of us get to experience this.
Come on, you're running late.
It's going to be a great day today, babes. I can feel it. Spit. You see, when we say we're with you, we actually mean it.
Oh, don't forget Sarah, you've got social netball tonight. And Mark's working late again.
Jono and Ben with you in the morning and anytime on iHeartRadio. On The Hits.
Hey, Dad.
What's up? What's up?
You know that's from the 90s, right?
So's this fuel price. 6 cents off per litre on the Gallop, even on top of discount day.
That's what's up.
Download the Gallop. What's up?
$14 away from 9. Kiwis are drinking less than ever before. Latest stats show alcohol consumption is down 8.4% in just 1 year. It's also down 23% over the past 2 decades. So what's behind this big shift? Virginia Nichols is with the New Zealand Alcohol Beverages Council, joins us this morning from Dunedin. Virginia, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Ryan.
Do you think then, I saw the Stats NZ numbers yesterday, do you think it's we can't afford booze or we're going off it, we're becoming a bit more health conscious?
I think really, I mean, what we do know, we know consumption's falling, we know responsible drinking's increasing, hazardous drinking's declining, we've got a cultural change, it's now socially acceptable not to drink, and change has happened, and for lots of reasons. We've got family influence, community support, role models. We've got an increasing moderation culture, a big health focus there. And as a result, what we're seeing from beer, wine and spirits, they've responded to the moderation trend by offering a wide range of no and low alcohol, mid-strength and full-strength products.
Right. And so does that mean that we should be happy about the fact we're drinking? I mean, you're representing the industry. Are you happy we're drinking less?
I think the industry, there is real change going on out there where we're drinking less, but we're drinking a lot better. And I think that's a really important thing. I mean, what we're seeing here is we're seeing it, and the industry is only interested in responsible drinking. And responsible drinking is going up, and hazardous consumption is going down, and we're seeing it to start with in youth. I mean, it's a pretty exciting change in youth over the last 20 years, where and this is according to the Dr. Jude Ball research, that there's a significant improvement in the way that students are drinking. Dr. Jude Ball, of course, is from the University of Otago, and she's outlined that alcohol use starts later. Its delayed update has occurred in New Zealand as well as in other cities around the world. And there's an increasing normalisation of non-drinking. Non-drinking's more desirable. And there's no obvious policy trigger. I think that's the interesting thing here, because I think we're doing this ourselves. Families are doing this, communities are doing this. And there's emerging evidence really that changing parental attitudes and practices and reduced face-to-face time with friends may play a role in youth drinking decline.
All right, Virginia, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for being with me. Virginia Nichols, the New Zealand Alcohol Beverages Council Executive Director. It is 12 away from 9. Time to talk business, thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar. Earnings season hits the home stretch now. Half-year results just landed from Air New Zealand and Sky. Garth Bray, host Herald Now Business. Let's start with Air NZ.
Yeah, right. I mean, obviously, been a terrible time for the national carrier where they're trying to deal with these, not just the general state of the economy, but real difficulties with engines. They are talking about a $55 million worth of compensation in the period from engine manufacturers in the first half, but $90 million of earnings could have been included with the result had they been running as they intended. So all of that adds up, they say, to a net loss after taxation of $40 million for Air New Zealand. I suspect that's pretty much the sort of the bad news that people were expecting, and, you know, you'd say the analysts are going to be thinking, well, is this the end of it, really? We mentioned, I think, Airbus last week saying that they were seeing impact on their production cycle through to the end of 2027. So it might not be out of the turbulence there, but we'll see how that runs from here.
All right.
Sky. Look, a pretty good result there. They're saying despite consumer and corporate spend being down, they're reporting improved underlying earnings of 29%. That's their EBITDA, up to 78.2, and underlying net profit was up 77%, 19.3 million. They are recognising a fair value or a gain on bargain purchase, 34.4 million for what they acquired when they purchased Warner Brother Discovery's assets for $1. And of course, they're probably how some people are watching us now on that 3 Now app.
Absolutely, and from the middle of the year on 3 itself.
There we go.
Now, Kiwi Bank.
Yeah, a couple of banks actually. So Kiwi Bank dropped a positive half-year result, $103 million net profit after tax, so up 12% or 13% roughly on the previous period there. And they're saying that their retail home lending grew about 1.6 times the level of growth in the market. So they're saying, hey, we're going after the big four pretty aggressively. And Heartland as well, another banking group, have announced their result with a $48.8 million profit for the period, and they are expanding quite aggressively into the sort of the reverse mortgages market, offering people the opportunity to get equity out of the house without necessarily selling it. So that sort of seems to be working for them so far.
And Precinct Properties?
Yeah, last but not least, the developer of Commercial Bay at the bottom of town, big owner of Wellington Real Estate as well. I think they've got about 250,000 square metres of office around the place, as well as a fair bit of apartment and so on. They've reported where were we? I think it was net income from property of about 68.9 million, down slightly on the previous sort of comparable period, the first half of last year, but they're talking about exceptional leasing progress over the first 6 months of the year. 25,000 square metres of new office and retail lease deals agreed, including over 18,000 square metres in Auckland. So with occupancy high, I guess this is showing maybe people are coming back to the office.
All right, Garth, good to see you as always. Thanks for the update. That'll be the lion's share of reporting season done for us.
She's just about done. I think we've got Vista and a couple of others. Oh, we didn't quite get to NZX today. Maybe we'll catch up on that later.
All right, Garth, thank you very much. Garth Bray, Business Desk. Herald, well, whatever you are.
All of the above.
All of the above at the moment too. That is thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar. Cheers, Garth. It's 8 minutes away from 9. Back in a sec.
Know more of the story with Herald Premium, giving you full access to in-depth news, opinion and analysis, with more world news, business insights, and investigative reports from our world-class team of journalists. Plus subscriber-only functionality to comment on stories, access newspaper e-editions, gift articles, and enjoy crosswords and puzzles. Subscribe now to Herald Premium.
When building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build the GJs because they're good quality that they always provide us.
They help us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ Gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJs to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
Welcome back. It is 6 minutes away from 9. Why is the world so obsessed with a baby monkey in Japan? Punch, the macaque, was born last year at a zoo and immediately rejected by his mother. Keepers stepped... Oh, this is hard to watch. Keepers stepped in and gave him a stuffed orangutan... Oh, I see. Stuffed orangutan toy for comfort. Punch clung to it. The footage has now gone viral worldwide. That the very same plush toy has now sold out at IKEA stores across the globe. But experts say there's a tragic truth behind Punch's rejection, claiming it's likely his mother was unwell and too inexperienced to care for him, leaving the tiny monkey to find a comfort toy instead. See, that's what happens with teenage pregnancies. 5 away from 9. Right, let's go to the US. American rapper Snoop Dogg got a huge welcome from the home fans when he attended his first game as an owner of the Swansea Football Club. Snoop was dressed in the club's all-white colours and did a lap of honour before the game. He then went into the changing rooms to meet the players. Snoop's a minority owner of the Welsh club, along with his friend Martha Stewart. Swansea are in the Championship, which is the level below the Premier League. Thank you, Paul, for clarifying that for my benefit. The game against Preston ended in a 1-1 draw. Quick break, back soon.
Know more of the story with Herald Premium, giving you full access to in-depth news, opinion and analysis, with more world news, business insights, and investigative reports from our world-class team of journalists. Plus subscriber-only functionality to comment on stories, access newspaper e-editions, gift articles, and enjoy crosswords and puzzles. Subscribe now to Herald Premium.
When building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build the GJs because they're good quality that they always provide us.
They help us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ Gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJs to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
Welcome back, 3 minutes away from 9 o'clock. So, Hamilton City Council, well, let's go back first of all to Wellington Water. Remember before the Moa Point sewerage into the ocean situation, we had another situation with Wellington Water with their procurement. They were buying pipes and getting work done without going to tender. And as a result of that, they were paying up to 30% more for pipes that other councils were getting for way cheaper because they weren't running robust tender processes. Well, in Hamilton, they did a review last year. It's come out. Independent audit, KPMG. They have identified significant areas of concern. You can say that again. So the council awarded $240 million of non-tendered contracts between 2021 and 2023. So $240 million, none of it goes to tender. 75% of the contracts during the 3-year period of the 1,200 contracts that were active contracts, went without an open competitive process. So then you look at how much are they spending, because you would assume if you're not going to tender, you might be paying a bit more than you otherwise would because it's not as competitive. They estimate, this KPMG report estimates that in the long-term plan, expenditure will grow by 73% over a 10-year period, increasing the daily spend of the council from 1.7 million to almost $3 million. And then are we surprised to hear that if you're not putting most of what you're spending your money on out to tender? Don't worry. All good councils have procedures, they have plans, they have handbooks up the wazoo, but here is the interesting part of the report, and I quote, "Compliance is not enforced and repeated non-compliance occurs without consequences." So there you go. That's why everyone's spending your money and no one's accountable. It is coming up to 9 o'clock and we'll be back tomorrow from 7 o'clock for more news. In the meantime, head to nzherald.co.nz. Until then, have a great day.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
A banking expert's calling the Reserve Bank's proposal to enforce the opening of more branches and ATMs a waste of money. Public consultations opened on the bank's wish to require accessible cash services countrywide free of charge through more branches and ATMs. However, Massey University banking professor Claire Matthews says branches and ATMs closed because they weren't being used. She says there are more useful things banks could be forced to spend their